Hello everybody, this is Interstellar Warrior. Yesterday I was looking at Hanna-Barbera, and I was looking at Barbera in Hanna-Barbera, and I realized that it looked wrong to me, and I remembered that Barbera is spelled with all A's. It never had an E in it. I always remember it being spelled B-A-R-B-A-R-A, not B-A-R-B-E-R-A. And you know, I grew up on these cartoons as well. I used to watch the Flintstones, Yogi Bear, the Jetsons, ScoobyDoo especially. So I remember Barbera being spelled all A's. There was no E in it. So of course, naturally, I had to do my research, and I did find some residual evidence for you. And before I show you the evidence, just want to remind everybody to please subscribe, share, like, or dislike. And I will enable comments for those of you who remember Barbera being spelled with all A's and not an E in it. And all negative comments will be deleted. So all of you who want to give negative comments, don't even bother, because I will delete them. So with that being said, let's get right to it. Okay, so here we have a published book, Encyclopedia of New Mexico. It was published in the year 2000. And I'll read the evidence I found here. In 1966, Hanna-Barbera, spelled with all A's, Productions was purchased by Taft Broadcasting Company. However, its two original co-founders continue to serve as president and senior vice president. Today, the company has a 2.5 acre complex in Hollywood, California. In addition to television series, specials, and theatrical motion pictures, the company of Hanna-Barbera, again spelled with all A's in Barbera, Productions, makes industrial and educational films, and the Hanna-Barbera name is on some 4,500 different consumer products. Okay, so 3 times Barbera is spelled with all A's here. But to be fair, you know, it's also spelled with an E, like up here. You can see it right here, B-A-R-B-E-R-A. And down here as well, Barbera is spelled with an E. So it's, you know, the original spelling is coexisting with the current spelling in this reality. Like I said before, I see this a lot. But, you know, this book was obviously researched, so it's kind of strange. You know, they got it correct from the reality I'm from, and also, but they have it correct for this current reality. So the naysayers would say it's a typo, but I believe it's just some residual evidence, you know, coming through. You know, this person remembers Barbera being spelled with all A's. So anyhow, on to the next. Okay, so here we have Rarebitorg, and here's a little biography of Richard Bickenbach. Richard Bickenbach was born in Indiana August 9, 1907. He moved to Los Angeles, California during the 1930s, where he became a longtime animator for Hanna-Barbera, spending the first years of his animation career, the 1930s, 1940s, working as a layout artist and animator for iWorks and Warner Brothers. He joined Hanna-Barbera in 1957. He was credited for creating the first official Yogi Bear model sheets. Okay, so Barbera, spelled with all A's here. And in the career outline, Barbera is spelled with all A's here and here. So the person who did this biography had to do their research, and obviously they're from the reality I'm from. So they remember how, you know, Barbera is spelled back on the old earth in the other reality. And I believe people have been shifting back and forth for years. And that's how residual evidence is left behind. Others believe the same thing as I do. You know, people shift over here, they leave their evidence behind, like this person did, and then they shift back. I believe that's why residual evidence is left behind in this current reality. Okay, so on to the next. Okay, so here we have JLA Forums, and this person on this forum is trying to sell his Hanna-Barbera cartoon TV DVD set. And as you can see here in the title, he has Barbera spelled how I remember it, with all A's. This was posted March 20th, 2014. So he had posted this over 2 years ago. So I'm sure he sold it already. But anyhow, here's a little description here. Here's one of the largest Hanna-Barbera collections available. Of course, Barbera spelled with all A's. Remember, these took me a lot of years to obtain this collection. So let me scroll down here and show you like what he has listed here. Huckleberry Hound, Flintstones, Snagglepuss, Yogi Bear, Wallygator, the Jetsons. He has, here's Johnny Quest. He has a long list, a large collection of these Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So this guy, this person, he knows all about the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Obviously, he is a big fan of these cartoons, and so he would know how to spell Barbera. He's obviously from the other reality. So this is some good residual evidence here. Moving on. Okay, so here's another published book. This was published in 2002, Political Parties in Advanced Industrial Democracies. So let me read what I found for you here. By the 1975 election, dancing cartoon Cossacks and aggressive National Party advertisements produced by U.S. animators Hanna-Barbera, Barbera spelled with all A's, were used to smear the Labor government with communism. So, of course, the people involved in in writing this book had to do the research too, so they wouldn't spell Barbera wrong. So here's some evidence for you. Moving on to the next. Okay, so here we have another published book, published in 2000, Coexisting Contemporary Civilizations. And in the notes section of this book, Hanna-Barbera is mentioned. 8,500 cartoons from Goldwyn Mayer, Warner Brothers, including Hanna-Barbera with the Jetsons, Yogi Bear, Tom and Jerry. So here they have Barbera spelled with all A's. So they remember it as I do. Okay, so here we have RobertLouisStevenson.org, film versions of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Let me show you what I found. 1974, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mouse, director William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. Of course, Barbera spelled with all A's here. And this is a Tom and Jerry episode. This is how I remember it. Let me show you the next evidence here. 1970, Nowhere to Hide. Director William Hanna, Hanna-Barbera Productions, screenplay Joseph Barbera. As you can see, Barbera spelled out A's here and here. This is a ScoobyDoo episode. I remember this episode actually. Okay, on to the next. Okay, so here we have an article from Vogue. Giles Deacon, 15 Best Cartoon Characters. Let me show you what I found. Scrappy-Doo. The Scooby-Doo series was created in 1979 by Hanna-Barbera. Barbera spelled all A's there. Okay, next one. Captain Caveman. Okay, the concept was created by Joel Ruby and Ken Spears and produced by hitmakers Hanna-Barbera. Okay, as you can see, Barbera spelled all A's right there. Last one here. Top Cat. The Hanna-Barbera created series ended in April 1962. Okay, so as you can see, all A's and Barbera right there. Moving on. Okay, here we have My Entertainment World. Batman, a TV History. This was published or posted August 5th, 2013, and down here Hanna-Barbera is mentioned. Superfriends, 1973 through 1986, the show The Adventures of the Justice League as they battled evil villains and saved the world. The show was produced by Hanna-Barbera, famous for the Flintstones, the Jetsons, and ScoobyDoo. So here they spell Barbera with all A's. Next. Okay, this next one is very interesting. This is on the Stanford EDU website. This is a student, Mark Lavoie. He was given the 1976 Charles Gowen Sands Memorial Medal. And this medal is traditionally given for the best undergraduate thesis in one of the 3 branches of Cornell University's School of Art, Architecture, and Urban Planning. Okay, so he received it for his thesis, and basically what this guy did. Okay, this next bit of evidence I found on the Stanford.edu website. This student, Mark Lavoie, he's an undergraduate, and he received the Charles Gowen Sands Memorial Medal. The Sands Medal is traditionally given for the best undergraduate thesis in one of the 3 branches of the Cornell University School of Art, Architecture, and Urban Planning. So this student at that time, created basically a paint program that can be used for cartoon animation, and he actually convinced Hanna-Barbera Productions to use his system, and he gives a little brief description of it. Although we were unsuccessful at Disney, we managed to convince Hanna-Barbera Productions to employ our system in the television animation market. Hanna-Barbera was on the verge of closing down domestic production due to spiraling labor costs, and they saw our system as a way to forestall doing this. So this Mark Lavoie was involved with Hanna-Barbera, and he's obviously educated, and he wouldn't misspell Barbera and Hanna-Barbera Productions. So this is some good evidence right here. Yeah, he won't make a simple mistake by replacing the E with an A. It's just that he remembers Barbera the way it's spelled in the other reality. So I give this piece of residual evidence an A+. This is pretty good. Moving on. Okay, lastly, I found another piece of good residual evidence. It's an essay I found on Digital Media FX. The history of animation, advantages and disadvantages of the studio system in the production of an art form. So this was written by Michael Crandall, and he does mention Hanna-Barbera. I'll scroll down here for you. Cartoons made exclusively for television had been around since Jade Ward's Crusader Rabbit in 1949, but production of TV animation didn't really hit its stride until about 1960, when most of the cinematic cartoon studios had shut their doors. Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera, former MGM directors and creators of Tom and Jerry, dominated the market almost from its inception and continued to do so through the 1970s. Unfortunately, Hanna and Barbera never understood that just because something works once, that doesn't mean the same thing will work again and again. In their 20 years together at MGM, they never made anything except Tom and Jerry cartoons, but at least Tom and Jerry had been well animated and cleverly written. The duo's television hits are considerably lesser in quality. One gets the feeling they succeeded merely because there was nothing better on, and the myriad self-imitations of every successful show they had were downright abysmal. Despite its flat, one-dimensional characters and campy, formulaic stories, ScoobyDoo proved extremely popular in 1969, so Hanna-Barbera made Speed Buggy, Jabberjaw, and the Clue Club, which were all variations on the same characters and theme. So as you can see, this person, Michael Crandall, he did his research. As you can see, Barbera is spelled with all A's. And there's something interesting at the end here. In 1999, Michael Crandall entered this essay into a contest sponsored by Joe and Vicky Tracy's Animation History website, where he won first place and a limited edition signed copy of The Illusion of Life. So he won first place for this essay. He did his research, and obviously he's from the other reality. He shifted over to this reality and left this bit of residual evidence and shifted back, is what I believe. So there you have it. Another piece of good residual evidence. I give this one also an A+.